Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is January 22nd, and this is another of our bi-weekly SIG Apps calls. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. A quick announcements before we move on to the main discussion points. The enhancement freeze is February 8th, which is 2.5 weeks from today. So make sure that all your caps are ready for reviews and merge by that date. And then the next important date is code freeze, which happens to be March 5th. There's another freeze happening after the code freeze, which is a test freeze, but that is only for test changes, so you don't have to be super fast with trying to land your test, but generally the good idea is to make sure that all the pieces of the code land ahead of time, uh, because it's usually very hard to get approvers and reviewers very close to the freeze dates for both enhancements, code, and tests as well. Does anyone else have any other announcements that they want to share with the group? Okay, so moving on to the first topic, 130 cap planning. Philip, I know you're going to cover this one. Go ahead.
Okay, so should I share the screen, or are you going to click on the links and show the issues or caps?
As you wish, I can open one by one if you want me, or if you want to share, I can give you the right permissions.
Okay, I have already opened all the links, so maybe it will be faster if I just share.
Okay, give me a second. I'll make you a co-host. And I'll stop sharing. Yeah, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, just a second. Okay, this is my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we have the list of enhancements we would like to, or people would like to see be included in 130, and some of them are new, some of them are graduating. So I would just go from the top to the bottom and discuss the caps and issues and the state, and see if there are any remarks regarding the caps. So the first one is add pod index label or stateful sets and index jobs. So I think we already have an offer from Abdullah to graduate this to stable. I think this is like a simple change, so probably we should be okay with graduating this to stable. I don't know if you want to see more of the cap, or I should go to the next one, or if some of the people have remarks.
I'll be monitoring. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. And if there will be no questions, Philip, if there will be questions, I'll interrupt. If not, then just go ahead with the next one.
Okay. So the next one is elastic index jobs, which I think was also Abdullah, and he wants to graduate it to stable. And I have some remarks here. One thing is that the feature is that you can like before it was not possible to modify completions, but this cap allows modifying the completions if it is synced with the parallelism field in the jobs. And so this was proposed straight to beta, and now we would like to graduate it to stable. But we have also like other feature which is called I have to find it. Job success completion policy. Yeah, that's here. And I went through the cap, like not properly, but I see that this cap proposes which changes how the job should complete, and it has some dependency on the completions field, and the cap is still not fully finished, and there are still some discussions on how should the final API look like. But for now, we at least can see that there are some validations, restrictions regarding this API, the new API, and the completions field. So this is the suggested API, and I don't know where they are discussing the completions. There are some validations, and so like right now we are marking the job as complete if all of the completions are finished. But this one can also specify a count of completions or indexes which can complete. So I'm not so sure if we should graduate this to stable just yet, since this cap is still not finished and it's proposed to alpha, so it might have an impact. What do you think?
I haven't went through the other one about the job success and completion policy. And I'm not sure if this is actually targeted. I haven't seen it. I know that this topic was brought up uh towards the end of the last year. I haven't heard from anyone about including this in 130. There's a person that is working on the topic. I'm not sure if this is something that they're planning to push for 130.
Yeah, so I'm not actually sure, but I have seen like activity in the PR. So like there are like quite recent reviews, and I think it's still far from complete. So I'm not really sure if even if they wanted to, it will manage to land in 130. So yeah, this might not get to 130, but the considerations are still the same, that we are changing the behavior of the completions, and we don't know what the final feature will look like, and how impactful should this be for the elastic index jobs, which are just relaxing the validation on completions, but I guess it could be changed later. But since this is beta, and I think enabled by default, I think there is no reason to rush this.
Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning this in the cap so that both of them are aware. The authors are aware of the other one, especially with regards to the conflicting validation changes in each. If I don't get there, feel free to do it as well. But yeah,
Okay,
that's definitely a good catch.
Yeah, I can start the discussions on that, and if they are okay with postponing this, since if they like, if there is a reason to hurry with this or not. So yeah. So the next feature is pod healthy policy, which is the old name. It's unhealthy pod eviction policy. Is the name of the feature, and this was brought to beta in 127. And we have been testing this feature a bit, and I know some users have also tested this feature and have not seen any issues submitted to Kubernetes repository. So I think we could promote this to stable. Okay, so the next one is auto-remove PVCs created by the stateful set. So this feature was planned to be graduated this release, but there was an issue was found, and the issue is that we have forgot to actually manage the controller field on the owner reference. So there is an update to the cap and partial fix in the Kubernetes repo PR, but we have found some issues. So we first have to merge the cap update and then post the fix. But this should be pretty easy. At least the cap part. The fix itself has a lot of cases that have to be validated. So
But the fix will not cause a graduation, further graduation of this feature. It'll continue to be alpha if I remember correctly.
I think it's beta.
Okay.
I think it's beta, but yeah, this will not move the graduation. So we will have to first see if we have to first land the fix and then see if the fix is stable. So this actually might postpone it a release or two. So
yeah, that makes sense.
okay. Then we have the job API managed by label. So this is a requirement to allow jobs to be controlled by other external controllers, which in this case is not a real controller, but it will only allow mirroring of jobs between clusters. But this is like a generic feature, so any controller could manage jobs from this moment once this is merged. And there is still a pending discussion, but the cap is in quite healthy state, I think, and probably will be polished or finished soon. And next one is the one I talked about, is the job succession completion policy, which, as you have said, you have not heard that this is planned to be 130. Although they have it written here 130, but I think there is no recent discussion regarding this in the issue. So we might have been pinged about this in the next couple of 2 weeks, but I think the cap itself still has quite a lot of work to be done before we are okay with this change. So it might be possible that this gets completed. The next one is considering termination pods in deployments. So this was originally started by Kevin, and but he did not have a time, so I overtook this, and a similar feature was already done in jobs as it's called pod replacement policy field. And this is basically a similar thing in deployments, but the implementation and the considerations are a bit different because you have to also make sure this works through the replica sets. And so here is the cap, and I have already received some reviews, and if people have time, I would like to see get other ones as well. And next one, I just want to overlook this. I have the list is correct. Yeah. The next one is the declarative non-maintenance. Later in the meeting, I want to have a small update on this, but I'm just keeping it here in case this would be super fast, but it probably will not be ready in 1:30. This week on Wednesday, I'm discussing this in SIG API machinery call and see what they think of the API. So this will give us more idea how far we are in the cap after the call, and what other things we have to consider before pushing this further. Okay, and so these are the caps. I think these are the caps which are active, and then we have these three issues in our enhancements which are not active, but might be possible to graduate. One is max unavailable for stateful sets, which is in alpha for quite some time, and it would be good to see this feature come through. I have pinged the recent user who was working on this, Kante, if he has time to push this further, because he has a cap opened. But there are still like some pending reviews and issues that have to be resolved. So I'm not sure if he will have time for this. So this may be slip into the next release. The next one is a job creation timestamp in job annotations, which was in 128 added by Heba straight, and it was straight to beta, and it's a simple feature, so I think it could be also graduated. And I have also pinged Heba, and if she's able to look at this.
I've pinged Heba as well on Slack about this, and I got a response that she will be interested in finishing this off. So I'll sync with her because this is rather a straightforward feature, but the value from having it to GA would be pretty significant. So it should be pretty fast thing to push forward. So I'll be working with her to get this up and ready.
Okay, that's great. And the last one we have is allow stateful set to control start replica ordinal. And I think this could be graduated to stable. But I have seen a few issues, unresolved issues in Kubernetes repository, which might be connected to this, or at least to the to the stateful sets. So it would be good to go through the issues in Kubernetes repository and decide if there might be some bugs regarding this feature. And so this is all of them. Then I have also some other enhancements in my personal list. So we have a couple of enhancements which could be G8, but were added last release. So we will still wait for these to be stable before we graduate them. And then we have there are some enhancements which are on hold or stale that whose status is unknown. Okay, does anybody have some comments?
Don't hear anything, so I guess we can jump over to the declarative node maintenance cap you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick update on this because we have been discussing this a couple of calls back. And as I said, I will be discussing this in the SIG API machinery, but just the most notable changes, which is more rich API of the node maintenance object. So I have heard like suggestions that this should be able to do phases of the node maintenance. So I have just two fields, a cordon and drain, which could be used for that, but this is to be worked on. So it's just to have ability to switch between the phases. Then the other updates are that I have removed the PDB considerations and also the search API. So I have made the cap a bit simpler. And one other thing is that we are trying to propose conditions on pods that could be used to communicate the evacuation request and the feedback from the controller. And this is also to be discussed, and we will see if like what API on pods would be the best to achieve this. There are a few couple more changes, but these ones are the most important. Okay, so if you have an interest, please take a look, or if you have some questions, don't want to drag this. If some has quick questions, I can respond to them now. Okay, I think we need time for this. So that's all, and I will stop sharing and see what's next on the agenda.
Okay, thanks a lot. And with that, I guess Alvar is next with his topic. Alvar, do you need to share your screen?
No, I'm good. It's basically just a question. So the other day I learned that pods allow to change the container in place. So you can change the image and then the kubelet will restart the container basically. Which Cruise, which is an out-of-tree workload controller API set, uses to offer kind of an in place, if possible, setting on top of rolling update, which will basically change this in like if you change the workload, it will change the pod in place if that's possible. The main advantage of which, I guess, is that it can be quite a lot faster because you don't have to recreate the pod, you don't have scheduling, you don't have to recreate network and volume attachments. So basically, I was wondering if there has ever been a discussion in the past to add something similar to stateful sets. I couldn't find a GitHub issue, but I might have missed it.
So you're saying basically the in-place upgrade would be happening without even restarting the pod.
So the container needs to be restarted because the image is changed, so that cannot be avoided. But other than that, the pod as such keeps on existing here.
Okay, and this is being performed by which container runtime?
I think any. This is not specific to container runtime. This is like a normal pod feature, it seems, from what I can tell.
I honestly don't know about our ability to perform in-place upgrades in pods in Kubernetes, especially that the image field in the container spec of a pod is immutable. So there's
It's
no
not.
option.
It's
It is
not.
not.
I was very surprised about this too. I didn't know this either, but it's possible. That seems to be part of the pod for a long time already.
Oh, okay. Do we have other controllers which would be supporting this?
As of
Or you
today,
only
none of the workloads support this in any way. I just saw this in this out-of-tree cruise controller, which is, as I said, an out-of-tree workload set.
that would be an interesting, and I would probably start thinking whether this is something that we want to do just for stateful sets, or whether this is something that would be of interest in other controllers. Most of the controllers have usually a field which allows you to express the rollout strategy for each of them. And if we introduce another in-place upgrades or something along those lines strategy, which would allow the controller to replace the image in a pod that it is controlling. And that would seem like a reasonable approach.
Yeah.
I will admit that I wasn't aware of this functionality. I would be curious if you could do some tests in your, I don't know, in your client cluster or something like that, where you would try this. What how much work it would require, just out of curiosity, and then just describe your findings in an issue, which ideally you could link also to this agenda, and or just ping me if you won't be able to add it there. And I honestly don't see a reason why we would not extend the API surface with that kind of a possibility. And on top of that, opening this as an issue to gather additional feedback, whether that would be only for stateful set or people would be interested in having this across the board in between other controllers as well, is definitely worth asking. And that would be my starting point for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm mostly only suggested for stateful sets because I guess for daemon sets it would more or less be possible easily as well, but for deployments I think it would be difficult because of the replica sets. They kind of would make it difficult to add it there, I think.
Well, you would have to still do it like 2 layers. One, it would have to apply to replica set, and then replica set would have to apply this to the top managing. I'm not saying one way or the other, but it's definitely something that could be left as an option, even if you would initially start with the implementation in stateful sets. Lay out the possibilities for the other controllers as well. And
Yeah.
because looking back, I know that usually a lot of people are commenting that, oh, this is already possible here. Can we also include the other places as well doing the same thing? So probably if we decide to go one way or the other, it would be nice to understand the scope of the work and the feasibility where this is implementable, and we can push it through easier and where it would be a little bit more challenging.
That makes sense. Okay. What exactly do you want me to test in a kind cluster? Just verify generally the pod in place
yeah.
image change? Okay.
Yeah, maybe
Is it okay if I
try.
just do that with any container one time?
Yeah, definitely. There's no,
Okay.
you can probably put together like a proof of concept, update to the stateful set controller or whichever other controller you want to play with, and see how big the change code-wise would be if you would be doing this, and what eventual problems you might run into if you do something like that in your stateful set.
That makes sense. Okay, I will do
Cool.
that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Does anyone have any questions for Alvaro about this or suggestions? Okay, hearing none. Last call for any last minute topics. Anyone else might have? Hearing none. So with that, I'm going to close the call here. Thank you very much all for today, and see you next time. Bye all.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.